I hope that all of you finish your practice and now so let me recap what we discussed till now. So part of our training program, we started our class with the introduction to the virtualization, virtual labs. Part of the virtualization, we discussed about type 1, type 2 algorithms. So type 2 algorithms we are using. This is a virtual means we are having existing operations inside the virtualization. But type 1 is a bare metal, where operating system doesn't exist. Okay. So type 2 hypervisor, we have VMware workstation, Oracle VirtualBox, like the Microsoft Hyper-V solutions. So we use like a Oracle VirtualBox software and their extension pack and their base addition packages for the like our labs. So we can install the like virtual machines. We can build the virtual machines in a three different ways. We discussed that. So from the ISO file, okay, OS installer file, we created like a Ubuntu virtual machine and the Kali Linux virtual machine like that. And we can import the existing virtual machines. Means like so someone can export as a virtual appliance OVA file, and you can take that OVA file and then directly can double click and import it to your virtual box. So we discussed that. Okay. So and after that third one, like so if we have any hard disk, virtual machine related hard disk we have. So we can attach that hard disk to the our new VM. So we configure in that process EOPix level 1 we configure in that. So we downloaded from the vulnerable tab. It has a like a so VMPK file. We attached to we created a new VM and we selected existing virtual hard disk file. Okay. So those are three ways we have to deal with the virtual machines. So you can import from the OVA file, you can attach the existing like a media in VMPK files, and you can create from the scratch by using ISO. So we discussed about complete virtualization. And part of the virtualization next level we have a containers, Docker. So we can create the Docker and inside of the Docker we can run the additional programs. Okay, so that thing also we discuss. So Docker, we can run in a more basic kind of other programs. So in application security classes, you will understand Docker research in a way because we have like application security testing class Docker. We can use that. Okay, that is what we discuss. Introduction to the virtualization and lab setup. Yeah. Next, immediately we started our classes with Linux. So we worked on Linux fundamentals. So first we started with the Linux software management, package management part, how to use the APD, how to use the TPKG, so how to download. We have a discussion about different things in the package management. So we installed by using APD. APT update, APT upgrade, APT install, APT reinstall, APT remove, APT patch. So different commands we use like we handle with the package management, we handle with the APT. For offline installation purpose, we downloaded Debian files from the internet, we installed with the help of the DPKG, Debian package install. And we downloaded some script from the GitHub, shell script, Python scripts. We executed it. Okay. So and containers, Docker. So we discussed about different way to deal with the softwares. Okay. So we discussed like how to manage the softwares packages in a Linux system. And after that we discussed about administrator access. What is sudo? What is su? Switch user differences. So su will open a new session for that user. sudo will run the command behalf of the user. So when you command sudo plus su, what happen? You will directly open the shell, root shell directly. So we discussed about administrator access in a Linux system. It's root access in a Linux system. And we discussed about users and groups. Add user, add group, user, add group add. Okay. Add group add. Add user add. DL user DL. Okay. Group DL group. We discussed about how to add the users, how to delete the users, how to add the groups and how to delete the groups. Okay, how to add the user from one group to the another group. So we discussed about add users management. So we change the user password. So we discussed how to change the password by using passwd command space user in anyone's password. If you have the sudo privileges, you can change password. After that, users management and groups management class, we discussed how to bypass Linux system logins. Right? So we modified a graph editor, we removed some lines, we added extra lines, we loaded, so we got the root shell, we modified the password. So we discussed about users. After that, we discussed about Linux file system. Linux file system means, so what are the folders, important folders we have, how to manage the files and folders. It is mkdir, rmdir. Okay, so touch for creating MP file, nano for using this editor in the command line like this for creating file, reading file, writing file. Are redirecting command output into the file by using greater than symbol, appending content by using two greater than symbols. Command greater than symbol file. Command, so two greater than symbols file. So write mode and append mode. It is. So delete command, rl command for removing files. Okay. We use like a cp command, mp command, copy move. Whenever you are trying to copy the folder, we use like a cp -r extra. Whenever you decide to remove the folders, rl okay -r extra because folder is particular you. And we configure the privileges of file permissions chmod. So we use chmod numbering format r u z o. Okay, so the privileges rwx read write and execute. So chmod we use ch1 ownership changes. Okay, so we did like a ownership changes. So chgrp group ownership. So we just updated the files and folders permissions, group permissions. Okay, so things. So we discussed about file system. Not only that, we learned how to handle with the text files, especially how to read cat, head, tail, okay, less, more, different, okay. How to cut the content, extract a specific column, cut command, how to count the word, how to pass the one file input as a output as a input to the next command, how to search within a file grid, and then with the next files also. So we discussed the completely Linux in there. So important things whatever we need, we discussed. Hope that you got the idea about it. So we discussed about Linux. Then we started discussion on the managing servers, manage services. We discussed how to use the service command, systemctl command, how to install the Apache, how to install the SSH, OpenSSH, how client server concept works, how attacker discover the servers, how they identify the open ports and services with their party, Nmap. So we understood like a different services uses. Web services, HTTP and HTTPS, file sharing services, FTP, SMB, SAMA, SMB, SAMA. Okay, so on the NFS, we discussed about like a remote access services, R login, R execute, Telnet, SSH, VNC. So emailing services like SFTP, POP3, IMAP. So we discussed about like a protocol DNS, DSCP, Internet Protocol IP. Discussed about Internet Protocol. So IP address classification. So after understanding the basic fundamentals in the services servers, we discussed in depth about like Nmap uses, Nmap script engine uses for enumeration purpose, brute force attack purpose, vulnerability scanning purpose. So we got access to the different services by finding the weak credentials, guessable credentials with the help of the Nmap scripts, Metasploit framework auxiliaries, Hydra tool. So we involve that. So with the help of the Metasploit framework, like we exploited like a known vulnerabilities, which is identified by Nmap script engine vulnerability scans or Nessus vulnerability scanner report. We exploited all of them. So we understood how to hack Windows XP, Windows 7, Windows 10, Windows Server 2008 digit, Metasploit 3, Windows Server. So we tried like as a more than like a 6 VMs part of our classes. So we even like a handle with a like assignment, Qmetrics level 1, basic contest VM, CSEC. So we worked on that. Okay. So we completely like discussed about important concepts which is a required for the penetration test, internal penetration test or external penetration test. Whenever you know the internal IP address, you connect it to the corporate company internal network, they ask for internal network IP, okay, security. Then you are scanning the entire network range with the Nmap, identifying all the hosts, identify all the open ports and services and their vulnerabilities and exploiting those vulnerabilities, reporting that. So internal like so network penetration. You need to do that from inside of the corporate company. It means you have to go to their office, connect to their network, either wide or wireless, and do the task. Or remote location, also you can do that. You need to connect to their network through the VPN, corporate VPN. So we discussed about how to do the internal penetration test, external public APIs. You can sit at your home, you can scan the public. So we discussed about like how to do the penetration testing for the organization. Internal network penetration testing, external network penetration testing. Required skills we discussed. So after that, like, so we started understanding more about networking, network level activities. So we monitor network traffic with the help of the network sniffing concept. We did a man in the middle attack. We did a passive network sniffing with the help of the Wireshark. So in a hub node, we use like our virtual lab environment. Okay, so we monitor like every protocol behavior in a Wireshark. How FTP is sending data in a plain text, how SSH is sending the data in an encrypted format, how HTTP is sending data in a plain text, how HTTPS is encrypting the traffic. Every secure protocol, insecure protocol. Okay, so DSCP protocol, DORA effect. DORA effect. So they have a discover, offer, okay, request and acknowledge method. Ping using like a slice to request and response. YARP using a broadcasting for identifying the like a user's MAC address. We discussed all of them. So all their behavior we discussed. So we use like a Wireshark and EtherCap for the management. So when we discussed about that networking related network level snipping, network traffic level analysis things, that time even we continued our studies to understand more about networking core concepts. So we discussed like so types of networks. Personal area network restricted to the person, personal workspace. Okay, local area network is small office space within a building, within a flat, our own network, our corporate network, local area network, okay, campus area network, multiple buildings connected, just a village kind of thing. Especially like a big organization in Nigeria, campus is big space they need, not a single client. Thousands of employees they have, they need to have like a multiple apartments, multiple blocks. So campus area network. All our internet service providers are using metropolitan area network. And all our like internet service providers are getting internet from the WAN wide area networks. Largest wide area network is internet. We discussed about types of networks, how wire connections, wireless connections, satellite communication, how cables we have in us under submarines. We discussed the both parts, part of this. So we discussed about like a types of network architecture, how data can transmit between one computer to the another computer. So how they exchange the data. One computer can become like a server, all other systems can become a clients. Clients can request for the data, server can deliver the data. So client server architecture we discussed. So we discussed about like so P2P architecture used in a storage. Every feed has a server level capabilities. It means 10 users connected as a piece. It means 10 users have equal capabilities. There is no differentiation. This guy is a client, this guy is a client. Because everyone has the same information. Now those 10 people can like share the information with a length graph. Easily distributed traffic for less time, high speed delivery they can. So they can file sharing purpose useful to people. So people we use it on models. So client server architecture is the entire internet is that model. So you are accessing Facebook server, you have all the applications server. Okay. So 99% of internet using like a so client server architecture. So 1% is of people. So we discussed about like the network topologies, how data is transmitted between one computer to another computer in a physical connecting way or logical connection. So we try to understand the, like a data flow between like a so one computer to the another computer in the network. Data flow. The packet flow we discussed. How like a bus topology works. Bus topology. Single cable with a multiple workstation connection. We don't prefer to use that for our applications and our home space. ISPs use that city level connection they place with a bus topology. Okay. Even like our WAN connections also like that country to country. Bus topology cables they have. Okay, so they have another connections. And we discussed about like a star topology. Everywhere we have in star. Switch hub is working like a star. Router working like a star. So we have a centralized device which are like a router, Wi-Fi router. So you are like all users are connected. So they have a more privacy compared to other link topology, read topology, mesh topology. We are using internet in hybrid. So we discussed about network topologies. And we discussed about networking devices. have work in a like a physical layer. It don't have any identity information. So lack of identity information, it will broadcast the data. It's not safe whenever to the city. Then they introduce which is using the CAM table, contained addressable memory table, which is mapping with a like a MAC address of the PC with a which port it is connected. And it is managing virtual LAN also. That means so it can identify the user to user data transfer. It can do with the help of the MAC address. Switch is using support from the YARP. YARP is like a so getting the MAC address, helping the like a so switch to identify the user. Because the computers use the IP address, but switch only work depends upon the MAC address. So switch need the YARP. That router use the IP address. Router it will route the information between one network to the another network. One network to the another network. One network to the another network. So router modem we need for the data conversion, analog signal to the digital signal to the analog modem. Wireless access point used for connecting to the wireless network. Okay, so now all together we have a single device Wi-Fi. Fiber we are using for security for the network. So we have like a different fibers. So we have like a packet layer, not like fiber network traffic. Network traffic will analyze. So network layer, the network layer will work. So packet should be fiber, circuit level gateway fiber, application layer fiber, multi layer inspection fiber, next generation fiber. The fibers either software format we have, hardware format. So those are devices part of the network. Okay. So we discussed about like so network is like a medium standards, like a wide connections and wireless connections. So we use like a wide connection, wireless connection. So wide connections like we discussed about like a cables used in a connectivity cables. So coaxial cable, shielded twisted pair cables, unshielded twisted pair cables. Okay, so fiber optic cables. Shielded twisted pair cables are really fast because shielded we have protection we have. Unshielded twisted pair cables are less fast. Okay, fiber optic cables have a great speed compared with all the cables. So coaxial cable like we are using still today for the dish TVs. Okay, sorry for the dish. So they in the old days that cable offer like up to like 12 Mbps, 15 Mbps speed max. Later they moved to the like a shielded twisted pair cables or the conventional twisted pair cables. Now in that like they have a category cables. Category 1 to category 8 cables now. So after category 5 everything will change. After category 5, so they introduced like 100 Mbps wire connection. Category 6 introduced like a so 1 Gbps. Okay, category 7 like a introduced like a 20 Gbps. Category 8 introduced like up to 45 Gbps. Okay, so we have a great speed now in a wide connection. So data centers are using like a category 8. Corporate companies are using category 6 or 7 tables. It depends upon the needs. Okay, so they are using categories. Now, so wire connection is like just in a old days. Like a old days, people use more in a wire connectivity. Now, we want like a give a freedom to our employees or users to connect from anywhere within that workspace. Wireless connection here. We are using a Wi-Fi. Right? We are using Wi-Fi. So in a wireless, like so we are using like a Wi-Fi standards we have 1 to 7. Now in a current Indian market, like we are using Wi-Fi 5 only. Wi-Fi 6 routers also, not everyone is using. Really, great speed will get in a Wi-Fi 6. Okay. So we are using like a Wi-Fi 5 and we have like a different like frequencies. We have like a bands. Now like we have like a 2.4 GHz band, 5 GHz band, 6 GHz band. 2.4 GHz band is a very slow, but it will cover the long range. 5 GHz frequency. Okay, so that band is going to be give high speed, but it will cover the less range. Okay. Now 6 GHz frequency will give the cover the less range, but a very high speed compared with the 5 GHz. So, but 6 GHz will take fine in a Wi-Fi 6 and Wi-Fi 7. Now, Wi-Fi 6 and Wi-Fi 7 routers are not really available in Indian market. Even if they are, if you want to buy them, also they will get them. But normal home users are able to use it. So, two band like a dual band routers people are using. Where 2.5 GHz and 5 GHz is available. Okay. So now like we have like high speed achieved in a Wi-Fi 7. So Wi-Fi 7 is like offering like great speed, 49.9 Gbps per second. 49.9 Gbps is achieved in a Wi-Fi 7. Wi-Fi 6 achieved 9.9 Gbps. Okay. So we have that great speed. That's a Wi-Fi 7. And we know like so we are using the Wi-Fi security WEP, WPA, WPA2, WPA3 for the passwords. So Wi-Fi like a data encryption purpose, password protection purpose. So now after introducing like a WPA2 and WPA3, now hackers can't able to hack the Wi-Fi. Impossible. So even we have to do that attack with help of the police. That police never ever find the password. So it's a really tough. So we discussed about like all those fundamentals and next we discussed about like types of networking models. So we discussed about types of networking models like OSI model by ISO. You know like open systems interconnection model by international standard organization ISO. So ISO like propose like a 7 layers in that model. So this is the networking model, how data, how like handled by the other computer networks. They are represented in a 7 layers. So we have like a so layer numbers from the bottom to top. Bottom to top. So in the bottom we have a like a from the bottom to the top. So if you consider the bottom like a physical layer we have where our Ethernet hub works. Ethernet hub work in a like a physical way. So our data is always in a binary format. Okay, zeros ones format. Okay. So next like layer 2 is a, like a data link layer where we have a MAC address switch works there. And our like a snipping softwares like a Wireshark kind of tools work in a data link layer. So our snipping tools works in a layer 2. Switch is a layer 2 device. Now we say like a switch like a manageable switches introduced into the market, which is working in even layer 3 also. So now switches we have layer 2 switches and layer 3 switches. It means layer 2 data link layer will go only deal with the MAC address association. So it don't allocate the IP address to the user. But layer 3 switch can allocate the IP address to the computer also. That's it. So we have a data in a frames format. Data in a frames format. Okay, so binary format we have in a physical layer. Frames format in a data link layer. Now we have a data in a packet format in a network layer. So network layer has an important protocol like IP, Internet Protocol. IPv4 address we have, V6 address we have, V4 32-bit we have, public IP addresses by A, B, C, D, E we have. Okay, so A, B, C we have in a private IP addresses. We discussed about the classes, the ranges and everything and that. So we have a net mask. based upon the net mass letter. So we have a CIDR format also, forward slash 8, forward slash 16, forward slash 24 network representation. So network layer. So network layer is dealing data in a packets format. Packets format basically. Okay, so now so next like transport layer has a transport layer has a TCP and UDP. You know that TCP user three-way handshake process. SYN packet it will send, it will receive the SYN plus acknowledgement, it will send the acknowledgement, it will finish the connection establishment, then it will send the data by using urgent flag or push flag. It will receive the acknowledgement, then it will send the next packet, next data. So basically, transport layer like use the segmented information. This your data is split into the segments. Data in a segments format. So it will push the data in segments wise in a sequence order. In a sequence order. Okay. So it uses a TCP, UDP, user like a ports. We have a 0 to 65,535 ports. So we have a, those ports only map to the services. Okay, so HTTP user 80 port, like a HTTPS user port 43 port. So FTP user 21 and 21 port. So SSH user 22 port. So those ports are like available in a transport layer. TCP UDP ports. Now, so we have like a session layer. So where session is tracked, like where net via session service is going to work. And if you are dealing with the voice over IP calls, session initiation protocol (SIP) work in that layer. And our like so we have like a session management for the encrypted communication channels. So that session management everything is handled. Okay, so remote browser calls are like our TLS media session management. That session management also handled by the session layer. Now presentation layer we have. So data in a raw format we have in a session layer, presentation layer and application layer. So data in a raw format. So and presentation layer like deals with the presenting the information either Word format like a PDF format or like image format, GIF format. Is it in a plain text or is it in an encoded format? Is it an encrypted format? The data formatting is handled by the presentation layer. Okay. So our actual data entered by the end user is always application layer. End user interact with application layer where he will enter the data or where he will read the data. So he will receive the data or send the data from the application layer. So application layer is like a top layer, so which is interacting with the users. In application layer only we have an apps, applications, web application, mobile application, desktop application, using different services. So we have a web services, email services, remote access services, file sharing services. All those protocols are like trying to interact with the end user with the help of the software solution. Got my. So we have a OSI model. So that OSI model is like representing how things works in each layer. So in different protocols in it. You should aware of it. Okay. So some people like so try to they just like use the same thing and like they represented as a TCP IP model. 7 layers split into the 4 layers. Top 3 layers. Now top three, what are the layers we have? Application layer we have, presentation layer we have, session layer we have. Like they treated as a single layer. Transport layer as it is transport layer. Network layer as it is network layer. Okay. Now bottom 2 layers are also they mesh that they use as a one layer. Okay, so now totally like so top 3 mesh, bottom 2 mesh, between that 2 we have. So totally 4 layers we have. TCP/IP model we can call that one as a TCP/IP. So part of this networking concepts like in a whole session like we discussed about how to deal with the MAC address and how to deal with IP address, public IP addresses and private IP addresses, their classes, their net mask and their CIDR format. Okay, so ARP, ARP pausing, for the man-in-the-middle attack. Okay, so ICMP for ping command. Okay, so TCP prevention. Even we use TCP prevention to use the Nmap different scanning techniques are like SYN scan, okay, TCP connect scan, null scan, XMA scan, fin scan, acknowledgement scan. So scanning techniques we use. So and UDP, so we just use ports. So we have a TCP UDP ports 0 to 65,535 ports we have. In that we have a ranges. We have a three different categories we have. So we have a 0 to 1023 0 to 1023 ports. We can call them as a well-known ports are system ports. Those are available for the well-known services like a web services, email services, database. So well-known services. Okay. Now after that, so they given INA, you know that INA is responsible for managing the internet numbers capabilities. So they are they are allowing the third party companies to register some ports for their business applications. So we have a registered ports range of 1024 to 49,151 range we have. And dynamic ephemeral are private ports. Those are used by all our computers, client systems, whenever they are communicating with the server system. Server has a one open port. Client should have a one open port for exchanging the data, port to port connectivity purpose. Temporarily, our computer allocate the private ports. Once action is done, it will close that private. So we have ephemeral ports or private ports for our computers. So 49,000 to 149,150 remaining 65,580. Okay. So we discussed about commands also, networking commands also part of our classes. So how to deal with the ERP. So ERP command, ERP space hyphen A. So how to deal with the so next stack space hyphen A. Okay, so how to deal with next stack space hyphen A for the network connections. ERP command for the ERP cache. So we discussed about trace route. Okay, if you want to identify the connectivity between your source to the destination, how many nodes you have in between you, how your data is traveling in the network. So you can use a trace route. You can use a ping command to check system is live or not, server is live or not. Okay. You can use IF config, IP config command. IF config for Linux, IF IP config for the Windows. In a Linux, we use even IP space AR, IP space address also. We can use for getting IP address. So we discussed about those networking commands so we understood so complete basics of our computer networks also. So part of our classes we discussed so Linux fundamentals, we discussed computer network fundamentals, and after that we discussed about even Windows command line interface. So what we did we discussed so Windows command line interface, important commands in the Windows command line activities, and we discussed how to bypass the Windows login screen also. Right? So how to bypass Windows login screen by getting a command prompt before login screen. So we tried that much. So we discussed how hackers use the voice identity framework for information gathering. How defenders also use the voice identity framework for information gathering. So we discussed about how to identify the URL is malicious URL, scam or not, legit or phishing URL. We discussed how to find the email. The email is so phishing email or legit email. We discussed about social engineering attacks, phishing and phishing, spear phishing and all those. Okay, so we discussed about malware analysis, how to investigate the files or attachments received in the emails. Okay, how to download that file and without running that, how to investigate in isolated version machine, isolated malware analysis lab. That might come. So we discussed about it. So we discussed like all hacking phases. Information gathering, like a scanning and enumeration, gaining access, maintaining access, clearing the logs. 5 phases in a hack. We just like a represented in an attacker style cyber pitching. We discussed about it. Recon, weaponization, delivery, exploitation, installation, command control connectivity, and actions on the based upon the object. So 7 like steps in a cyber kill chain we discussed. We mapped our knowledge with even micro attack framework. We have a tactics as well, 14 tactics. Okay, so we have like a 14 tactics. Information gathering, recon, resource development. Okay, so we have like a initial gaining access related. So we have like a initial level access. Okay, execution. We have like a privilege escalation. We have a persistence. We have like a defense evasion techniques. So we discussed like how to like discover the environment, how to collect the data from the environment, lateral movements. Okay, so we have like all those tactics used by the cyber criminals also we have. So we cover a defensive perspective. If you want to like investigate any cyber crime, if you want to investigate any cyber attack, you need to have like access to the logs, going to the individual machine, analyzing that log is a really tough. That's why what we discussed SIM, centralized log management, security information event management system. So we discussed about SIM tools plan, where we collected log from the every source. We install like a universal forwarder in a Linux system, universal forwarder in a Windows system. We collected log from those machines. We got all the logs into the like our centralized SIM dashboard. We monitor the like activity triggered alert section. We return like a search rules. We have saved that particular search pattern as a alert rule. Whenever that similar incident is happening, whenever that alert is triggered, we understood that. Okay, so why it is triggered? Is it a false positive or true positive? Guys are able to follow me. So we almost completely the network security part completely discussed and covered everything in our course. Okay, so let's try to recap from today onwards. This week completely recap everything what next week. Okay, Wednesday onwards. So we'll move to the web applications, mobile applications. So application security classes I will start from this. Who already attended application security classes? Guys, it's time to start your preparation. Recap everything, revise everything, do the practice. Restore the topics if you need additional class on that series. Attend those concepts in any another batch, whatever classes you missed. So we covered everything related required for this software. Now tomorrow class, I will explain how organizations manage the security operations. That is our last class related to this network security. Tomorrow class, I will cover that. So remaining days in this week, you have to revise and finish your practice. We'll move to the new section of this syllabus. Thank you. Have a nice day.